So I've just bought my next property and it's a 4-bedroom end of terrace house in Newark. This is episode 2, and in episode 1 I gave you a walkthrough of the house, showing you the cracks, explained why it took 7 months to complete on, and how I bought it for £213,000, which is £67,000 off the initial listing price. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link up here for it. But in today's episode, I'm going to be getting started on the renovation. I'm actually about to head there after this recording. But before we do that, I thought it'd be helpful to show you my plan. So what I'm changing, what I'm leaving alone, how I'm thinking about the layout, and whether this is going to work as a proper 4-bedroom rental. But before I start knocking out the walls, I map it out properly to know which walls I should be knocking out and whether I actually need to do it, because it's very hard to reverse. So I use a tool called floorplanner.com. The link's in the description below. It's totally free. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just think it's a really solid free tool, and I use it on pretty much every project that I have. It forces you to think properly before you commit to anything expensive. So this is the original floor plan for the property. I've mapped it out based on the estate agent's listing of their floor plan. And the great thing about floorplan.com is that it's got products already in there that we know, like John Lewis beds and furniture, and I can just drag and drop them in and see what they look like as part of the floor plan in 2D, but also in 3D. Like in here, I can see how a double bedroom would look for the current room size. So it's pretty useful. Now, it has a couple of problems with the existing layout. The first is probably the most obvious, is that it's only got 1 bathroom for the entire house. And if you're trying to sell it to 4 professionals, I don't think sharing 1 bathroom is that appealing. So we're gonna have to try and add in a second. Now, the second major problem is that the 4th bedroom, this one at the front here, is very small. So it can barely fit a single bed in, really. So we need to think about what we can do to that to again make it a bit more appealing. Now when it comes to the downstairs, pretty much everything is okay. The kitchen's a good size, there's enough space for a table, or they can have a big dining room, living room here for this massive over 30 square meter space. Now I've been speaking with my architect and running through a few floor plan ideas, and the initial one we had was to do it like this. So downstairs we have a water closet, so a nice toilet and sink, where the soil pipe runs down and under a step here, under the kitchen cabinets, and meets the existing soil pipe out the back. The great thing is that this kitchen actually drops down, so by extending a little bit of a step out, we can run the soil pipe underneath, which is 4 inches, and you only need between a 1 in 40 and a 1 in 80 drop. So that's 1 centimetre every 80 centimetres. So that should work out quite nicely downstairs. And then apart from that, for the downstairs side of the floor plan, nothing really needs to change in terms of layout. We're gonna obviously be filling in a lot of cracks, painting, redoing the floors, but for the layout purposes, no, it's pretty good. I think this is the only property I've ever had where I didn't have to do anything to the kitchen. So it's quite refreshing that I've got a full working kitchen whilst I'm there renovating. At the last property I had, I actually ripped out the kitchen first, and then I really suffered for it later because I couldn't even make cups of tea easily. Now when it comes to the upstairs, this first version is pretty much there, but it does have a problem. And hopefully you can spot it. We've moved the wall along here. We've managed to make it jut out a little bit into the room, so both sides are now equal in terms of sizing for the left and the right hand side to put a double bed in. And this works out perfectly because while we move this stud wall from here to here, we can put in new plug sockets on either side of the bed, because the stud wall currently, the existing one, that is directly above the consumer unit downstairs, and all the mains cables for the ring mains are coming through it. So we're going to have to move that regardless, and that allows us to put in sockets. So this works out great at the front of the property. Now to add an ensuite bathroom, and for the properties that I do, I always like to have at least 1 bedroom as an ensuite, because in my opinion that's the most amount of value add. If you're doing something like an HMO, you probably want most rooms to be ensuite, but when it comes to valuation for a residential property, a lot of the valuers look for at least 1 ensuite, because for a family, that tends to be the parents who have the ensuite as the master bedroom. We're following the floor plan of one of the neighbouring properties, which was quite a lot higher in value, where they put a bathroom here. And it made sense because this space was unused already, and the back wall shares with the existing bathroom. So running through the water pipes and the waste pipes should be fairly easy. You just core through this wall, run the pipes in and out, and it joins the existing soil pipe stack. So I really like that idea. I think it's a great idea. But the problem with this one versus that neighbour is that in that property they removed the chimney. So in their one, the double bed was a lot closer to the wall and there was plenty of space to walk past. In ours, I'm not going to be removing the chimney because it's not causing any damp. It's not an issue. It's actually, for the end of terrace that we've got, external, I can see all the brickwork is fine. So if possible, I would like to keep that chimney. Now, unless we do a pocket door, there really isn't enough room to get around the bed. Not only that, we're going to have to seal up the door that was here and then put in a door here instead. So it doesn't really work. So I had a bit of a back and forth with my architect and we ended up coming up with an improved version that looks like this. Now you can immediately see the downstairs is exactly the same, the water closet, but the upstairs, we've now, well, at the front, we've now made this a little bit nicer with a curved edge. And this is for two reasons. One, it looks nicer and the entrance is better for the person coming into the bedroom. But two, this is now perfectly 2.4 meters long, which is great for buying the studs, 2.4 meters, and also the plasterboard too. Plasterboard comes in 2.5 meter length, and it's easier to put on, especially when I'm doing it. So you don't have to cut extra bits. But when it comes to the bathroom, the ensuite, this makes way more sense. It's now a corner bathroom, which I've done before, and the soil pipe backs straight onto the bathroom, the waste pipe from the shower backs straight onto the other bathroom. The sink is obviously higher because a sink waste pipe is higher, so it can run across. And we can have a door swinging out and a good sized bedroom, you know, a good sized place for the bed still, with the chimney in the exact same place. And we don't have to move the main door coming into the room. So if we go into 3D mode here and I go to that bedroom, you can see that now, you know, there's plenty of space for this bed, you know, to get around the bed, get in the ensuite bathroom, plenty of light coming in too. Whereas versus the version 1 floor plan I had, when I go to this bedroom, yeah, there's just not enough space to get by here. Look, this would have to be a pocket door. And even if it was a pocket door, you know, having to walk down, it's just not good enough really. So hopefully this helps you visualize where we're trying to get to. It certainly helped me visualize. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. You know, touch wood. Right, that's enough talking. I'm gonna go to the property now, we can get started. So I always tend to start my renovation process with like a walk around of the property. And this is me walking around with my laptop, where I'm kind of going through each room and making a list of everything that we need to do. So for outside, we definitely need to do some repointing on some of the wall. We've got these train sleepers, and these are real train sleepers actually, but they are rotting a little bit. And the garden's not too bad apart from a clean up. But moving more to the inside, I'm just taking a look under the carpet to see what the floorboards are like. There seems to be a lot of glue down there, but if we can scrape that up, ideally I want to get some LVT in there, so we'll have to be cleaned up and then possibly some 6mm ply down, then we screed it to level it out, and then we'll get some nice flat LVT on there. I'm thinking herringbone right now. And I'm also taking a look at all the cracks in the various walls as well. Now that I own their property, I can start to pick them out myself and see how deep they go. Luckily, all of them are surface level, so just in the plasterboard rather than anything through to the brick. But in the kitchen, as I knew from my floor planning, it's in a really good condition. Like the oven itself is a really nice oven. It's a bit wobbly right now, but the gas is working, fires up fine. The boiler is in good condition and it's working. I've got it powered up and firing away, and it's probably going to cost me £20 a day in heating, but I need to get this house warm to stop any further cracks appearing. When it comes to the upstairs bathroom, there is mold on the ceiling, so we're going to have to clean that off, and with the big crack that's across it, it's likely we're going to have to reboard it. We're going to have to put an extractor fan in too. The landing seems okay, plenty of cracks again, so just making notes of that, of where these cracks need to be fixed. And in the bedrooms, it's just more and more cracks. Everything else is okay. I realised that with my floor plan of the corner bathroom, we're definitely going to need to move the radiator across, and we're going to have to get rid of that baseboard socket. But then that pretty much wraps up all my notes of what we need to do around the property. The next final thing to do for me is to get into the attic and see what it's like. It's pretty interesting up here. One, because it's cavernous with this really steep pitch roof. There's so much space up here. Oh, there's Steve as well, saying hello. There's so much space up in the attic for a potential conversion one day. I haven't got enough money right now, or time or effort, but it's good to know. I did find this really dodgy electrical installation of a a metal bin lid. I'm not going to touch that for now. We'll get my electrician to take a look. Quite a few of the tiles had slipped, so I got some buckets underneath it. I was going to get the roof fixed in a couple of places anyway, so all it's changed is that I need an emergency call out rather than being able to wait for it. But now I really want to think about the kitchen. I want to think about the downstairs WC. So in the downstairs WC, I'm going to have to run a soil pipe out of the wall and underneath the floor across the kitchen. And luckily, as I was explaining on my floor plan, the floor does drop down, so we could possibly have it running under the door here and then underneath the kitchen cabinets. And if we remove a few of the tiles, there's plenty of space to have the 1 in 40 or 1 in 80 drop that it needs for a 4-inch pipe. But now that that's done, we can get on with some prep. So I'm ordering a window seat for this window, so I'm measuring that out. And then I'm starting to prepare the walls to be painted. So I'm sanding the walls off, sanding any filler that was in there from the previous owner, measuring up for blinds that I need to order. My daughter visited me and chased me around the room, which was fun. And then I can start to steam off the wallpaper. Came off dead easily. It actually came off without the steamer really. And then I'll just sand it back so we can put on our solution of fibre liner for any small cracks that want to appear behind the wall. Because of the fibre line, it's got its own strength, they shouldn't come through. And now we've done that, we can move on to the fun bit, which is actually knocking down the upstairs wall to move it across. So here I am kind of inspecting behind it. I realise there's lath and plaster underneath, which is not a problem. We can get through it. Just that is so much more effort than a normal plasterboard stud wall. And it's because this was installed when the house was first put in, so it's over 100 years old. We start to get the hammers out, get the chisels out, and we begin tearing away this wall to get it cleared to put in our new stud wall. And now here's the really boring part of having to clear up. And I like to recycle as much as possible, so I'm sorting out the rubble, the plaster rubble from the wood and putting them into separate bags. And after this full day of work, Steve and I went to the pub for a beer and we found a dog who could play football, which is fun. So just finished day 2 and had a really good day today. Steve was with me again, helping me out, which I'm paying him for, but I'm appreciative of his help. And we've covered the walls in matte white to get rid of the purple, so when we put on the colour we want, it's not going to show through the purple a lot. And we've also started to gouge out a lot of the fine cracks and start to fill in some of the larger cracks. And then I'll be coming back over the weekend to start to build out the new stud wall, which will start to make those rooms take shape. And we can get plasterboard and everything on that too. So yeah, pleased with how it's going. It's only been 2 days in the house and we're already making good progress, and nothing terrible has appeared yet, touch wood, and let's hope it stays that way. But I'll give you more updates over the weekend work.